Hello, welcome back to episode 7 of the Inferno Roundtable. Today I do not have they were all far too busy for this episode. I'm trying to be more consistent about posting, so I think we're going to do it every Thursday. If they are busy during Thursdays, we may or may not have to delay them for another time because I am too busy on Wednesdays to be doing that. So, um, what this episode is hopefully mainly going to be about is kind of like what's going on. Why are these things happening? So, I thought we should dive into to the whole TikTok situation with TikTok. The whole thing just seems bad, right? So you have all of these videos of people um doing their thing on TikTok. They almost have a certain level of child pornography on there. I mean, I personally haven't looked from the platform, but from what I've heard, it seems to be rather bad. Another thing that seems to be happening is that we're having issues with. I don't know if there's any high school audiences, but you see those people who listen to TikTok and they look brain dead. You'll see these kids and they will look brain dead. It's a very, very interesting looking. They'll have their mouth hanging out like just all of this because they're so completely out of it, right? And they don't do well in their schoolwork. I know that for a fact. And if they do, they're very lucky. But for the most part, just no. And these social media companies have purposely made them that addictive. That's why in the U.S. right now they're seeing this and they're like, okay, well this is bad, right? So they're trying to take them down, which I fully support, of course, because I'd rather not talk to brain dead people in the U.S. And also another thing, it does seem to be programming. It sounds like a very controversial thing to say, but it does seem to be rather programming people to be more, what's the word, slave-like, listen more, be influenced. I think the situation will get better, and eventually they'll get it out of the U.S. That's it for the TikTok segment, and I hope they do. I hope they take down that company for the evil that it's spreading and the lies it's teaching. Okay. And the next thing I wanted to talk about was some news that I've read recently, which might be rather interesting to hear about. So, the first thing I wanted to talk about was the auto car industry. So, what it seems to me is that so I read this recently, but the government really wants your next car to be electric, and they say, and I read this article, and they're like, well, it's to, help with emissions and stuff, but I think there's a subtle like thing behind that, right? So it could be that they're not only trying to do that, but they're also trying to um, have more control. Because you see, if everything's electric, then they can just turn it off, right? So, and everything doesn't work on gas. Um, but yeah, that's a way I think that they're gonna try and control us in the future. I mean, the government isn't like always bad, but certain times when it's trying to do things like that, yeah, kind of. Um, and then relating to that, there seems to be a series of jewel company settlements for targeting young teens. It does seem to be that young teens are targeted to these vaping companies because they're selling all these flavors, right? And they make those flavors very appealing to kids. And if you've actually ever seen one of them, like I don't know if you've ever gone to a mall or something. I've personally I've never even touched a vape before. But if you go to one of those malls, um, you can see on the packet that there's like a cartoon on there, right? And as you know, maybe cartoons are appealing to kids in general, young teens too as well. It's just a really bad situation that needs to immediately be resolved. Um, and I'm glad that this company is getting sued because they need to understand that this stuff is just bad for you. And when you're targeting young kids with that, that is completely unacceptable. Um, Also, another thing that happened recently, I found extremely interesting, was that there was some top secret U.S. Pentagon documents that were published recently, and according to this, it looks like we might be getting close to World War III, like getting really close. So, I found this article on 8 key takeaways. So, the UN boss is too accommodating to Russia. Um, the UN's being nice to Russia and not Ukraine in a way. There's more on that, but I'm just going to go over the takeaways. Jordan feared Chinese retaliation over Huawei. I don't know how to pronounce that. Let's see. What's that mean? Okay. Yeah, I don't know what that issue is. Um, Please feel free to message me about it on Instagram, though. Russian infighting over Ukraine dead. So Russian officials are actually getting concerned about the Ukrainian casualties, which means we might be close to an end of a war, but who knows? Western special forces operating inside Ukraine. Okay, so that means people like the Navy SEALs and probably um, yeah, Navy SEALs and well, maybe not Navy SEALs, but more of like Green Berets. You probably have Green Berets working in there. You also probably have some England special forces. Um, okay, so actually it says UK, Latvia, France, the US, and the Netherlands. They only have one from the Netherlands. That's funny. Okay. Oh, the UK sent the most. That makes sense. NATO. What's NATO doing? Um, yeah, there doesn't seem to be. U.S. dims hope for Ukraine offensive. So this is where it takes a turn. Ukraine is might be falling from Russia. It seems like a close battle, but the Ukraine offensive, if the Ukraine offensive is failing, then they might be screwed. They might be getting screwed over by this. It's bad. It's really bad. The situation is. I wish it didn't happen, but I mean, this could be the beginning of World War III for what we know. Um, let's see, Egypt. Okay, so this is an interesting one, but Egypt secretly plans to supply rockets to Russia. So Egypt is with Russia. If there was going to be World War III, Egypt is with Russia. Um, those rockets, 4,000 rockets. Yo, that's a lot of rockets. I don't know about you, but that's a lot of rockets. No, sorry, 40,000 rockets in secret. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. They would wipe out Ukraine with that much firepower, probably. I don't I don't know exactly how much that would actually wipe out, but I think Ukraine would be losing here. Let's see, there was one more. South Korea torn on delivering weapons to Ukraine. So, I mean, so let's think about this. If a war did happen and there were things to go wrong, I think that South Korea, let's see, signals torn between U.S. pressures and Ukraine, their policy not to arm wars that kind. So the U.S. might be fighting South Korea here, even though we're clearly, um, they might just send it, but I mean it's just gonna be bad. So this is either gonna get worse or it's gonna get better. It's probably gonna get worse, just judging by where we are in history right now. And the last point was China conducted experimental weapons test. Y'all, if they're committing experimental weapons, nah, we're China is almost as advanced as the U.S. now. So actually, what's happening is China is slowly crawling up in terms of advancement to the U.S., which is exactly what happened before World War One. So Germany was crawling up on, I believe it was Austria before World War One. This is a sign, y'all. This is bad. This is very very bad. This is basically the beginning of World War Three. What we're seeing here. In my mind, I don't think we're at World War Three, but we're getting close. We're getting really really close. Um, and the last thing I wanted to end on was more of like a takeaway here, right? So overall, it seems like the U.S. is trying to control their people more, um, with their dual companies and their auto car electric, and it's kind of covering up what's really going on, I think, behind the scenes. And the beginning of World War Three is coming, and you better be prepared. You need to be mentally strong and physically fit because it's gonna be bad. Um, Especially since we have nuclear warheads now. Right? I mean, if anyone bombs DC, we're screwed. So, well, if I'm, yeah, we're all screwed if someone bombs DC. But all right, for the last 5 minutes, well, sorry, for the last 13 minutes, I have talked about these current world events and what's going on. But I would like to end with some quotes from, I believe it's Seneca, and I think there's one from Marcus Aurelius here. So I'll start with the first one. It is a rough road that leads to heights of greatness. Now, specifically, it means exactly what it sounds like, right? So, in order to be great, and to have everything that you've ever wanted, you have to work much harder than anyone else that you know. Sometimes you have to lose friends too, and it's tough. It's tough, but you just work through it. I mean, there's nothing else you can do. If you want to be great, sometimes you gotta give up on things, and those things will make you less than great. So why have them in your life? And the second quote that I'm gonna end with is the greatest remedy for anger is delay. So in general, so let me say it again. The greatest remedy for anger is delay. So when you delay your anger, you not only gain the control in the situation. So let's say this for example. Let's find a good example. Um, so I actually row for my school, and um, it wasn't a very stoic thing of me to do, but there's this guy behind me that sits behind me on the boat, and um, the guy up front who looks for logs and steers the boat, he didn't see the log even though we were on flat water, and the guy behind me